So, for those of you wondering about the name of this podcast, this is what happens when you're a podcast host. You come up with a really creative name for an episode, and then nobody shows up to record the show. So 2 years ago, we were going to record a show after I think a pretty epic showdown between Gardner Minshew and Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then no one showed up to record. So I've had week 3 Beard versus Mustache in my queue for the last 2 years to record an episode. So it's week 3, so it's Beard versus Mustache. Now, I'm not saying any of my podcast hosts it's Beard versus Mustache. Now, RJ's rocking both. Smootox got the mustache, but not the beard. And James and Brandon aren't, willing to show themselves on camera. So I'm going to assume that one of them has a mustache and the one has the beard. So, gentlemen, thank you for bringing your facial hair on the podcast tonight.
Thank you for having my facial hair on the podcast.
Yes, I'm honored.
My lack of beard is why I'm saying camera off.
Like I said, I can't grow one. I'd love to try, but I can't. I would love the opportunity to have my wife yell at me and tell me to shave it, but that's just not something I've ever had to deal with. Anyway, another wacky week in the NFL GM world. Some surprising teams on tops of divisions. Some teams at 2-2 that we did not expect there, especially considering their spot in the power rankings. So we'll just kind of go through the league as normal, kind of see what's surprising, what's not surprising, and kind of what we see happening in the next couple weeks here. So since we've, let's just start at the top here. AFC North. So Browns at 4-0, 550 points scored basically. Ravens at 3-1, Bengals at 2-2, and the Steelers at 1-3. I think we all agree this is probably the group of death for the year. Even though he's a game up on the Ravens, like with the Ravens now getting Jimmy as a starting quarterback for the rest of the year, that's going to be a fun little 1-2 matchup to see how it boils down here.
I really like the Ravens team. Getting a second quarterback, that makes that team so much better.
Yep.
I like the Browns team also. I think it's a really good team, but just having 2 quarterbacks, oh man, that makes that team so much more impressive.
We'll see how long he has 2 quarterbacks this year. Danny Jones hasn't stayed healthy a year in his life.
Fair.
That's true. And then Russ has not been cooking quite yet in Denver. I don't know if it's the elevation or what, but definitely messing with his kitchen activity. But between that and some underwhelming performances on offense, if the Browns' defense really seemed to be the one that's carrying him through this, that and his depth at the receiver position. So if things bounce back, he's going to be tough to catch.
Yeah, I think that 4-0 is also almost more impressive in that he hasn't had like the offensive pop that you might expect from his roster.
Speaking of offensive pop, the Bengals. So who had Flacco being number 3 in yardage after 2 weeks on their bingo card?
Not me.
No.
Yeah, I'm the one that voted on Mike White on that bid.
He is the number 9 quarterback right now.
I honestly thought Flacco was going to be announcing somewhere.
Yes, sparkling personality is fit for television.
He's more than doubled up field. It's like, what the hell is actually going on here?
Can we just bypass Jets and Browns, please? I beg you.
I realize that as soon as I said it. I'm sorry, Smoothtalk. I know that's probably not a very happy thought for you right now.
Yeah, not surprised.
Well,
it sucks going into a game up by 13 points with 1:22 left and not feeling good about it. And that's before the touchdown. It's just everyone in the crowd was like, this is not good. This is not good.
You know what? One of my least favorite things now on social media is, God, it was like I want to say two or 3 years ago when like somebody posted something on social media where it's like a bunch of fans celebrating, and it's like Aaron Rodgers is about to get the ball back with like 30 seconds to go, or Mahomes is about to get the ball back with like 30 seconds to go. And everyone's like, they're celebrating with 45 seconds left on the clock. And it's like the one fan surrounded by people going crazy in the playoffs. And now everyone does it when this happens. So like the Jets fans surrounded by the Browns fans or the stuff like that. It's like, dude, it's played out. It was a fun gimmick at first, but come up with something else. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a fun showing in that one. All right, and then the Steelers at 1-3, 400 points. Again, just they've played their divisional games, so let's kind of see what happens in the wide open world here. If they're able to make up a little ground playing a fourth place schedule instead of a 1, 2, or 3 schedule. Again, some injuries at QB for him, and running back has really separated himself, but definitely has a decent best ball showing right now, even though again he's building. So I guess nothing too crazy there.
Outside of the fact that he's in the division of death, I think he's a couple of trades away from having a pretty competitive team.
Yeah, again, I think he's got some good draft capital as well. And then with the 2 quarterbacks, at some point he should be able to make a deal happen to fill in some of the gaps so that next year he's really hitting the ground running. All right. Any other thoughts on the AFC North? Excellent.
I think Bengals being 2-2 is surprising.
A little bit. Just by his point total.
Yeah.
But we knew that was going to be a fight in that, and it could go anyway. It doesn't mean he's necessarily out of it. But Bengals newest schedule was terrible. So, it's not going to be an easy road.
I'm wondering if at some point the teams behind the Browns, both in terms of divisional as well as record, is going to end up being a problem for him. He really needs to hit that second part of the season running there and make up that gap there if he still wants to win the division. But I mean, both the AFC and NFC are going to have just killers in the wild card round.
Yeah.
That one seed is going to be crazy important for everybody.
Come trade deadline, it's going to be hilarious watching all like the week 14 players trying to be shifted around. Week 14 bye.
Yeah, seriously, it's going to be a major delineation. I mean,
oh, you guys didn't do that already?
I did.
Totally. I mean, who didn't? All right, so let's jump to the South. Titans at 4-0. I don't think that's wildly surprising considering the moves the rest of the division is making. It is fun to see that the Titans have 2 more points for than the Steelers, or 2.8 points for the Steelers at this point, which is unfortunate based off of the division you're in. But hey, we've all been there. Most of us have been there. The NFC East is kind of the group of death of the NFC. The NFC North was for a couple of years, so we've all been there, but not exactly the place to be. But helping Texans out a decent amount, 4-0 and 2-game lead with the Jags as second place there. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to have any real challenge for the division, but I mean, I didn't expect him to have it. I don't know. I guess I was expecting more from Colts. Maybe that's just me.
He keeps trading away his receivers.
Yes. I'm shocked at Jags. Just 382 points. But
and I mean, that's the thing. Like, if I'm looking back at the schedules, I know we talked about this last week. But if Christian Watson catches that bomb, the Jags are leading the division right now at 3-1.
Yeah.
Like, let's not lose track of that here. So I know I'll only mention about 6 more times this year, so that the Jags get to keep reliving that happy moment. But that's pretty wild considering the state of things here.
The big thing for the Titans, though, is he's at 401 points, essentially taking a 0 at tight end and a 0 at his second defense end spot. So he's got a clear, obvious path to more points.
Yeah, at some point, moves have to get made to fill in some of these gaps. I guess so. I mean, the other surprise, Texans winning the battle, winning/losing the battle of the tanking teams. When you play the Broncos, you play the Pats or folks like that this year, it's going to be a true race to the bottom where whoever gets to 50 first might win the matchup.
Listen, I popped my cherry. I'm happy with it. Just don't do it again.
Hey, my last loss before this week was to the Texans. So it's only proper that you win in the same week that I take my first loss in over a season. So,
The tides are turning. It's happening right now. Just
the gods have a sense of humor.
Yeah.
I feel like RJ, I mean, I might be misremembering, but I feel like RJ's tanking process was like the first 1,000% commitment to I'm going to have no points this year. And I think it's now started to spark a trend, and it's going to be hard, right? For all of these teams who are like, I want a top pick. I mean, if you have one person that happens to get a sack, like that might be the difference between picking first or picking fourth, fifth. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I am seeing that. And again, this entire season is just me learning, seeing the trends, me seeing how things can really play out. I mean, I've done best ball before, but really seeing how this deep of depth can shatter or make a move in a week.
Well, I mean, that's also the different approaches too. I mean, you've seen a couple teams who have bought a piece or 2 pieces that they're willing to build around. So some it's tear it down to picks and draft capital, and we'll start going from there. You have a couple teams who have said, okay, I'm going to build around like the Jags with Mahomes or the Broncos with Lamb, or, give me a couple of dynasty pieces, and then I'll start building around there. I'll break them down later. And it's leading to a number of different things. And again, Smutak picked probably well with the one he's building around right now because he's not going to play for 11 weeks. But there's...
Yeah, I kind of did that when I got the Panthers. The Panthers team wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't great. And the only people left on it that I inherited, I think, is actually just Tyler Boyd. I moved a lot of people. I didn't necessarily move it all for picks. I moved it into other young players I liked, and then took those young players after they popped and sold them on the high after I bought them for the low.
I don't know how I feel about players being dropped, right before they play, like the Cooper Rush and the Kendrick Bournes. I don't like that for the tanking teams.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see a lot of the teams trying to, the ones like staking their claim and then still putting up hundreds of points.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about like Texans at like 111, but like, we know Jacksonville isn't necessarily trying to make a push, and they're at like 186 points.
The Jets, kind of the Bills.
Bills, I assume they're still trying to make an effort, but the Jets is also a great example at 158 points. And it's like, should probably do a little bit better on the tanking side.
Well, that's why I asked the question, because all I saw, I didn't have time to go into the actual website, but I saw that whoever the Pats dropped, the quarterback.
Yeah.
And I was like, did he drop him like mid-game? And I was like, and then you guys end up clearing the air a little bit, but that's kind of where my thought was of like, are teams dropping players midweek or mid Sunday to protect themselves from scoring.
Yeah, that's why I say I don't know how I feel about the doing it on Sunday. I don't like it. I don't know if there's rules against it. I know I did my best to try to avoid that. But I was like overly cautious with how I approached it last year, just because I didn't want to set like a bad example.
Yeah.
A gentleman's thinker.
Right.
So I'm curious on some of this too. It's so I know in other leagues you'll be able to see like, okay, like Cooper Rush was one for $15 million. I'd be curious to know what the other bids were on him, because that's the thing. It's look, it makes perfect sense. He's going to be a high priority waiver at. You get him, try and trade him. You can't trade him, you drop it. I don't like it, but I understand it. But the bidding $15 million on him when nobody's got that space available, like almost defeats the purpose. Like you're pricing yourself out of the deal by winning him for $15 million. So it's one of those where I almost wonder. And again, I'm trying to look at like different MFL reports where it's like when Cooper Rush was won for $15 million, like there's a bunch of things listed below saying player added none, player dropped none, add question mark and drop question mark, and question mark for the salary. So I don't know if that's something that the GM that the commissioners have hidden from us, or kind of if there's a way to see that. But I'd be interested to know what the second best offer was for Rush, because it's like say someone won him for 8.5. Okay, I don't know if that was the other offer. I didn't have anything out there, but just say that. That's a hell of a lot easier to move, and you're probably going to get a 4th round pick for that. So again, it's one of those balancing acts that I think some of the tanking teams need to understand. Like, it's not enough to just win the desirable waiver player. You have to win him at a price you can actually trade him for, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
you're just blocking.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, like for example, I know that Colts is looking to move, I think, Tom Brady, and he's like $45 million or something absolutely absurd, where he has a contract that you can't even move, even if you wanted to. So it's like, yes, Cooper Rush is, and I think part of it is the team wants to get the most desirable free agent out there, right? Like, and they get that guy, they have the cap space, they want to do it, and then they see that, oh wait, the teams that could actually use him, they only have like $5 million in cap space, and they don't really have, the $10 million that's going to require to move off of that in order to move him for something. So I think it's just a miscalculation on his part. It is what it is.
At the same, I mean, it might be a miscalculation, but at the same time, like, what does he have to lose? Right, he has $70 million in cap space. He might as well get him and try and move him. And if he can't, all right, well then I misplayed that. I didn't get like this extra pick, but it wasn't a detriment to his team at all.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. There's no downside to it. I mean, if he's got $70 million in cap space and he's spending $15 million on this quarterback, and he has no intention to win this year, it is literally no sweat off of his back. So I would agree with you there 100%.
The other downside, the one problem though is, if I understand the rules correctly, and please guys keep me honest if I'm not, is because he added him and then dropped him, he can't bid on him and win him this week. So he not only, he took a risk, didn't pay off. I get that, but he's now blown his chance at it too. So now somebody else is going to win Rush this week, and Rush is probably going to start again. And it's a question of, is it 15 million? Is it 12 million? Like, what's the number that gets him this week? And then is that something that he can be moved for? Again, we're getting into some of the finer points of strategy here as we're kind of going around the league. But I don't know. It's one of those where it's always surprised me with some of the bids people put out there and kind of say, oh, I can't move him. No shit, you can't move him. Nobody's got the space.
I am interested to see, though, what he goes for this week if he does go. If, did he set the precedence that you have to put up 10+ million for that player?
I'm interested to see if my $500,000 bid will get accepted. So I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really bummed that Juwan Johnson didn't go for the $550 that I bid.
Hey, you heard what Tony Romo was? It Tony Romo? I forget who said it. Yeah, Cooper Rush looked like Tom Brady out there. So drop those $40 million bids, boys. Anyways, all right, let's keep moving here to the East. The surprise Dolphins now have a 2-game lead over the division here. I think, with Bills losing Dak, it's not a surprise to see him dropping a couple games here. The surprise that I want to kind of focus on here is the Jets, 2-2. Only 315 points. So I think part of this is based off the record, but the way that some of his pieces are starting to show out, if he picks up a back, never mind. That defense is pretty awful. Okay, I'd like to retract the last 30 seconds of conversation here. He's still a defense away from really being a meaningful member of competition here.
Yeah, but wait until Jameson Williams comes back, though.
His offense is going to be sick.
Yeah.
He might not have a quarterback next year.
Spot.
Right.
Yeah. He's got plenty of picks, though. Going into this offseason, he's in a great spot to compete in the AFC next year if he makes the right moves.
Did I miss the AFC North conversation?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about you anymore.
Okay.
You're number one on my power rankings. Congrats.
Yeah, you are on top of a disaster of a division.
You sound like throwing lies.
Yeah.
Understood. I don't want to be, but I get it.
All right. I mean, Dolphins. I think we were surprised to see them in the top 300 last week. Was able to hold off and win both games, only putting up 200 this week. So, hey, sometimes the schedule helps. So good for him. And that was with Jalen Hurts going absolutely bonkers on Monday night. So, again, I think it's it's kind of a surprise undefeated team. But
I mean, yes and no, right? Like Jalen Hurts is probably the most valuable single piece in the league at his contract. Mm-hmm. And I think there was a lot of doubters on if that was like it was considered a good flyer, right? When he was picked and extended, it was like a smart extension, but none of us thought he was going to be an established starter. And here he is, sadly, like has the Eagles, inching towards the top of power rankings in the NFL. I'm still not necessarily a believer, but like as long as he's on the field, he's a top 5 fantasy quarterback maybe, and the best contract you could possibly ever have at the quarterback position. So he get to fill in all that salary. I mean, I'm paying $40K for Josh Allen. Now he's worth 40 or 40 mil, but he gets to spend that 40 mil elsewhere in his roster. So like, I'm not surprised. I think Dolphins was pretty high in my original rankings. And a resurging Saquon is exciting.
I mean, RJ, you had him as your Super Bowl team from the AFC last year, so you were just a year early on your love for the Dolphins.
Yeah, I assumed last year Jalen Hurts would take him to the Super Bowl, but I think it might be this year.
Starting to look that way. I mean, although it's the 2-0 Eagles, you got the 2-0 Giants, the 1-1 Cowboys, and the Commanders are 1-1, right? Or they 1-2?
No.
Well, I mean,
either way, the East is an interesting place to be for sure. All right, let's wrap up the AFC with the West.
Hold on. I think the one thing I wanted to say was about the East there was also surprised by the Bills' lack of doing anything.
Yeah.
After losing Dak, I mean, like, he was in the Super Bowl last year. He has assets that I think he could flip and still try and be competitive, but it seems like, I don't know, there's been no movement that I've seen or communication.
I mean, some of the assets have been underperforming, and he's pretty thin at with the rest of his roster.
Yeah, he seems to have had a rough offseason, and the few trades he has made don't look like they've really worked out for him that well.
But no, you make a good point there. He doesn't control his first. He doesn't have a quarterback. Again, who knows what offers he's been making to try and fill in around the gaps there and what the counters have been. I feel like we've got the kind of owners in this league that if you see another team that actually doesn't have a quarterback, the price that you're willing to accept on a player goes up around versus what you would say otherwise. Like, okay, I'll take a third for Mitch Trubisky. Oh, you don't have a quarterback? I mean a second.
Yeah.
I'll take a third for Jacoby Brissett. You don't have a quarterback? It's going to be an early second for me.
Well, the mistake was not starting with a first for Jacoby Brissett to begin with. You know, shoot for
Obviously.
the stars and then chip your way down.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Also, I don't see Jacoby Brissett going anywhere now.
I don't know what you guys are talking about. I totally didn't put him in a throw-in to Matt last year.
Well, I mean, that was last year. Where was he?
I don't even remember where he was.
I think I
Maybe
actually
Colts.
threw him in the Stafford trade before the season even started, because I already had Darnold and Locke at the time. I think I had Darnold, Locke, and him, which worked out for me because I got 2 ones for Darnold. So,
well, you know what they say. Now it's future Matt. It's future James's problem.
Didn't Jets just trade for Trubisky?
Yes.
yeah, I had Trubisky and I sent it to him.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, not
He's
that
moving
he's here to
assets
defend
around.
himself. I mean,
I
get it, but
yeah,
I don't get it. You know?
I don't know. I think I guess if I'm looking at it from his perspective, what's going to be easier to move, a starting quarterback or a bunch of defensive pieces? I think, again, James got good value with those defensive pieces kind of helping to fill in the roster, but I can understand trying to consolidate, thinking Trubisky might hang on to that spot. But considering they've got the Thursday night game, this is kind of the ideal situation of when they lose the Thursday night game, they got 11 days to prepare Pickett for week 4. That's going to be when Pickett comes in.
Yeah, I mean, Trubisky's looked awful. He's just looked horrible. I would be shocked if Thursday goes poorly if he's still got the job.
Yeah, they're not going to put Pickett in now. It's not enough time to get him ready. Yeah. They're going to play Thursday with Trubisky, and then it's Pickett time. All right, but then talking about the AFC West here. Yeah, it's a tough blow losing Lance for the Chargers, but like you said, he still has Brissett, who is kind of like, the next Tyrod Taylor, it seems like. Just constantly moves around, constantly finds himself starting games on teams, and he's going to put up a respectable amount as a starter. Not, league winning or separating, but, 12 to 20 points on a weekly basis. He might have a couple good games on either side of the standard deviation there, but that's going to be his range, and for the price, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, so it gives Matt time to find another quarterback, and that's the nice thing.
But will he? Isn't he
might
a
not.
49ers fan? I don't know. I feel like that was a.
Yeah, he's a big 49ers fan, but so am I, and I traded Lance.
He didn't even take the time to get a kicker. So is he going to get a quarterback?
I hope. I mean, we all have to go under the assumption that everybody will become active and do the right things for their team, or at least hope.
I mean, I think he put up all of his expensive or older talent on his trade block.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, is not uncommon, but
basically every competing team has done that.
Yes, not uncommon, but it is. You do wonder if he's just going to look towards being as competitive as he can with Brissett and looking towards next year.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully
that would be ideal. Anyways, just kind of looking through the rest of the division there. Chargers getting an important win over Chiefs. Not only does that give them a game lead in the division, but gives them the leg up on Goose from the tiebreaker. Obviously, they'll have another one later in the season. Raiders kind of surprises me. 350 points after the first 2 weeks. Definitely, Rodgers had a tough week 1. Taylor had a tough week 2. Williams kind of showed out. Again, it seems like he's kind of had 3 or 4 major disappointments on both sides of the ball each week. And because of that, he's really been hampered in terms of his scoring, where this is a team that could score 250 or above in a week, but he's averaging 175 right now, and that's kind of surprising, I feel like, with this squad.
I think once Leonard comes back, though.
That's true. That'll help a lot.
He's hurting at receiver. Robbie Anderson, the Carolinas just get so many receivers, it's going to be hard to rely anything on him. Mike Williams seems like he's going to appear and disappear, kind of like he did last year. He might streak, but you're still going to get some games like that. And then outside of those two, Pierce hasn't done anything yet, and the rest of them, Diana Brown's in year 2, and he's way down the depth chart. Zach Pascal is mixed in a deep receiving core too. Rodgers, I don't think they're a receiver with the touchdown catch yet. So
Perriman got a decent amount of show on Sunday because Evans got booted and Godwin was out. But yeah, he's going to be probably the 4th or 5th option in a normal week. But I don't know. Like I said, it was just kind of a surprising turn of events there to see from him. And then, of course, Bill doing the best he can to secure that first pick. 128 points so far. So not quite on the RJ pace, but he's making a good effort.
Yeah. He has too many assets that he wants to hold on to do exactly like I had done. But I think it's fine.
Let's move to the NFC. Start with the North there. I'm still holding on to division lead because of divisional record, but I think it's pretty clear that Jeremy seems to be the class of the NFC. I just caught him on the right week with the NFC, but NFC North, 575 in terms of his 2 weeks. Where
our leading scorer, I believe, is Jeremy.
I believe that is correct. Yeah. So a little bit of bad luck that he caught me on a week where I was overachieving, and the end of the game did not go his way last week. But is showing that he's definitely probably got the inside track to win the division, especially with the murderers row I'm about to go through with Commanders, Giants, Eagles, and I think Falcons in my weeks 3 and week 4. So not only did I get my first loss in over a season, first regular season loss in over a season last week, I'm probably going to go under 500 here in the not too distant future. So good on you, Saints, for not giving me my first round pick back, because who knows how the season goes. That might be getting more and more valuable by the week.
I think we're going to get we're coming up to the point of the season where after the doubleheaders, right, where a lot of people are established as like, I'm either a contender or I'm too far behind. And I think you'll be able to take advantage of some trade opportunities then.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those where the NFC is just going to be a killing field this year. You got 3 competitive teams in the East. You've got, depending on what pairs is, potentially 3 competitive teams in the North. The West is just going to be a bit of a free-for-all. And then the South, obviously, again, 3 competitive teams there. So, again, depending on what the West is, you've got 10 or 12, anywhere from 10 to 12 teams that are pushing for these 7 spots. So there's going to be a team that is good and left out, maybe 2 or 3 of them. So just nature of the beast this year. All right. Anything else from the North? I don't like to talk about my team too much.
I just think, just shout out to Packers. He's like 25 points ahead of me, I think. Total points. That's not a small amount in 2 weeks.
Nope, not at all.
And Sanders looks really good. I think we're finally getting what we thought we were going to get last year out of Sanders.
Yeah, I think the Sanders trade was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, he got Sanders and he got Hicks in that as well. So
yeah, for first, it was a steal. Just
yeah.
no matter what, if Sanders was going to be good or mediocre, that's just a lot of value for one pick.
Yep.
Nope, definitely. All right, moving to the NFC South. Congratulations, Panthers, at being 4-0. This point of the season, you've got 2 games up on both the Bucks and the Falcons, which will likely come in handy, especially considering you've only got a 1.5 in terms of a 0.4 difference between yourself and the Bucks. So, yeah, you've got a nice little stretch here where you should be able to sort of catch your breath, but not a bad way to start the season.
Yeah, I've looked at the rest of my schedule. I don't see a way I don't make the playoffs. Some catastrophic would really have to happen. My next 5 are almost gimmies.
You hear that, fantasy gods? Get him.
Yeah, you hear that? Yeah, Rams, Niners, Lions, Seahawks, Cardinals. Try me, okay?
Hey, Rams dropped 265 on me this week, so I would not underestimate
I don't
them.
expect a 44-point out of Waddle every week, though. So
Yeah, that was not enjoyable.
Yeah, nah, I got him.
I also
He's
think
in the bag.
Cardinals is a competitive team. The Bengals' struggles have just been hurting him because of his stack there.
The
But
Cardinals don't have a defense.
it's okay. It's not great.
I would snooze, and I don't think I have to check my scores for the next 5 games I have, and then then I get to play the Bengals, and I'll get reminded what a good team looks like.
No,
We need that. We need that quote like as a GIF or something we can share around each week.
You know what? That's what we need. So, commissioners, I don't know how we make this happen, or whether this is a function we can add to the league page. We need a bulletin board.
Yep.
That's bulletin board material. That's a quote you put up there and say, Brown says, I don't have to check my scores for the next 2 weeks or my next 3 weeks because, they're all going to be W's. So, like that's the shit that should go on the bulletin board.
Put it on the put on the Discord and pin it.
Let's see, there's like a smack talk thing, I think, right? Trash talk videos. Let's see. Oh, you can make a trash talk video. That's what we should. Oh, commissioners disable the ability to post trash talk videos.
What?
I am disappointed.
It's
Jeremy,
too big of a league. There's a high likelihood that one of us would post something weird.
Yep.
We have a weekly podcast to talk about this league. What do you mean we would post something weird? we have an avenue to record people so that they can make a trash talk video so they can post something weird.
Yeah, exactly. At that point, you can just cut up the YouTube and put it up there.
Yeah, you'd have people taking a poop while they're like holding up their camera, just shit talking. Literally shit
talking.
Shit talking while taking a shit. This is my new podcast. I'm gonna talk shit while taking the shit.
I just got lucky with my luck of the roll for the majority of the rest of the season schedule. I started rough though, having the Falcons, Eagles, and Bucks as early opponents was definitely scary.
Definitely. Then let's move on to the East here. Giants sitting pretty at 4-0. Commanders with all of the moves that he's made to bolster their offense is having a little bit of trouble on the defensive side outside of a couple of players, but 460. RJ 1-3 with 430 points. I think he's the highest scoring 1-3 team right now. So That's likely to bounce back for him in the near future, especially since he gets me this week. And then, of course, the 1-3 Cowboys with 375 points and doing that without TJ Watt at all this year. I would not have guessed that based off the way his team was put together and the fact that TJ Watt was holding out. But, you know, I know we say this every year, and he doesn't do anything about it. But wow, it would be really fun to see Cowboys make a couple moves to try and do something with his team. Since I don't know, he's only a couple points behind some of the teams that are really competing this year. But I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to make trades and rip people off.
I mean, for the Cowboys, I don't think we saw the Jahan Dotson numbers that we didn't expect this. Like we expected him to be a good player, but not
Speak
this
for
early.
yourself.
Not week 1 and 2.
Yeah, there's going to be some regression here where McLaurin has been not nearly as involved as you might expect. I think a lot of these touchdowns are going to go his way the rest of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely not a bad team. If it wasn't for TJ being hurt, and if Kayvon Thibodeau was actually healthy and doing some stuff, I think he would definitely be a dark horse in the NFC East if he could just flush out the defense end spot.
Thibodeau thought he was going to play week 2. I think he's going to play week 3 against the Cowboys here.
Oh, well, that's gonna be fun for me to watch because we don't have tackles, so been pretty proud of Smith so far, but it'd be good to see.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
There's definitely going to be some negative regression for the Washington offense. I mean, Washington, Wentz stinks. Let's be honest. Like, he's not a good player. He's not a long-term solution. McLaurin's good. Jahan Dotson, he's probably good. I don't know, but yeah, I mean that team, they're due for some negative regression, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's Lions Jags first 2 weeks. It's pretty weak defenses.
Yeah, and kind of diving into the Commanders real fast here. I mean, the offense has been as advertised, although Metcalf only scoring 16 so far, kind of since I moved him. Mooney having 2.4 on the season, not quite what you were expecting. And then Mike Evans getting booted partway through the game last week didn't exactly help him.
That was the fourth quarter.
But you look at the defense. Like, you've got 6 defensive tackles for a total of 26 points. You have your DNs. Nobody cracked 16. And again, I'm shocked Lawrence didn't have any of those sacks last week. They sacked Burrow 6 times. How does Lawrence not get one of those sacks? That's insane. And then just kind of across the board, it's
Lawrence has
he's posted that he's going to make some moves, and it's time to really spread the wealth on that team because he really needs some help on that defense.
Yeah, he's near the bottom at defensive scoring, period. Regardless of position, he's one of the worst.
Is there a report that shows that?
If you go to where am I at? League, and then starter points position. Then you can go in there and you can go by position at the very bottom. And he's near the very end. That's what I looked at a lot early in this league to help me realize the difference in positional values, which is one of the reasons why I completely fade essentially corner and safety.
Yep.
Because corner and safety in this league, it's more about the abundance of or the ones that are going to get targeted the most over actual talent and skill. I obviously say that having Minka, but there are a few exceptions, but there's not many.
No, I'm in the same camp with Derwin. Like, I want cheap, kind of shitty defenders, or I want the top of the tier.
Yeah, he's had 46 points at linebacker in 2 weeks. He's had 30 at defensive end. At D tackle, he's had 23 points. Corner, he's had all of his points are coming from corner on defense with 63. And that's because he doesn't have anyone to start anywhere else. And at safety, he's looking at 33 points, all of which, if you look at the graphs, are far to the left, other than corner.
Yeah, I'm looking at this now. Number 3 in DN, number 5 in linebacker, number 4 in corner.
I'm actually best in safety by like 30 points, which is like a half a standard deviation. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's again some of these I didn't expect. I have 3 DNs. Like, how am I number 3 here? But I just, they're hitting at the right times.
I feel I'd be up there with you. I'm at 62. It's just my second safety's hurt. So I'm really running on one safety getting points right now.
Hey, RJ, congrats, you got the top wide receiving core.
Yeah, I have one thing to be proud of. Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
He is something to be proud of for sure. And not shocking at all. Giants have the top quarterback and Packers have number 2. So,
but my thing from looking at that, the two things that separate the most, if you go back to previous years, is running back and linebacker. The teams that have the more running back points and more linebacker points are typically the teams that go a little bit further in the playoffs. Wide receiver always matters too in defensive end, but having an abundance of linebackers that can rotate and put up 15, 20-point games, and same thing with the running backs.
Yep, I mean, that's been the Falcons' bread and butter during these championships.
Yeah, like last season at tight end, I think I had like 14 points the entire season from the tight end position. I already have 17.
Yep. All right, let's wrap it up here in terms of the kind of division by division review. Congrats to Rams ending my winning streak in terms of the regular season. Beat me last week. He's now 4-0 and on top of the West. 455 points. Good for him. Good week to have Waddle completely explode for 42 points. As mentioned, 49ers having a little bit of trouble, and then the Cardinals really, suffering the wrath of the Bengals' offensive line being non-existent. Seahawks, again, is a team that has definitely been building and trying to move a couple of pieces, but 235 points is surprising there. I'm just taking a look at the team right now. None of the pieces are like jumping out at me as, okay, here's how he got there. But like Bradley Chubb, I guess, with 30, Breece Hall with 21. Like
Fryermuth's been good at tight end.
That's true.
Isaiah Simmons, I assume, is doing something statistically.
12 points total, so nothing crazy.
Yeah.
It was Chubb and Zimenez.
He had a big impact in that Raiders game where he punched out the ball, but actual fantasy stat-wise, no.
That's true. And then Poyer has had a pretty good couple of games there. So he's got to get on the flipping some of these pieces out to keep some of these points off his team, because 235 points and a win, he might find himself in the end of the top 10 instead of the early top 10 if he's not careful. All right. Any other observations, stuff we want to talk about from sort of the leagues thus far?
I think just like highlighting the importance of like these doubleheader weeks, these especially the early ones, for like newer owners. This is why I traded Chase Young for Myles Garrett. I was like, I needed DE points immediately for these upcoming doubleheaders versus my division. And so it'll be really interesting because at some point over the next like 6 weeks, a lot of teams are going to go like, I'm not going to be a competitive team and I'm going to start selling. Or the other way, like, Pats did last year, where he started becoming a buyer and make his run because these doubleheader weeks are so impactful to our overall standings.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be sitting there in week 5, week 6, trying to figure out, okay, what the hell do we do with ourselves here? I'm hoping to be 4-4, but we'll see. there's definitely going to be some teams that feel like they're out of it 4 weeks into the season. So that's going to be probably too late to make any major moves. Speaking of major moves, have some trades to go over since our pod last week. Really 10 in total. I think a lot of this was the Jets being active, and then we had a couple attempts to move Teron Johnson before the Monday Night Football and kind of help Rams cement his win over me. But we're going to go through that. Nothing on the blockbuster levels of stuff that was happening the previous week, but worth covering nonetheless. So we've got Giants making a bunch of defensive swaps with the Jets, moving Milton Williams and Akeem Hicks for Kalen Saunders, Justin Houston, Fenton, and McCourty. I feel like that's pretty solid for you in terms of depth. Giants, except you did give up the DN in that one.
Yeah, but he also got hurt. I didn't want to give up a DN, but I wasn't super attached to a 32-year-old rotational D end in a 3-4. But yeah, I think that I like Milton Williams a lot, but I think that was just this gives 4 depth pieces across my defense to help with my run here.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Houston getting 13 points last week, I think he probably got about 30 points just from those guys right there. So definitely a net positive for you. Browns dumping the Vernon contract with a 5th to the Jets makes some good sense there. And then Jets turning around and giving Forston, Morgan Fox, and that injured Hicks to the Panthers for Mitch Trubisky. Again, seems like rotational depth at a couple positions there. Panthers, anything else you want to add to
that? Not really. Sad Hicks got hurt.
Yep. Dolphins being opportunistic with Ian Thomas. God, it doesn't seem like they want to use the tight end at all there, either Tremble or Thomas. But, 4th-round pick's not bad for a sort of opportunistic shot there. Colts making his random, pop up in the gopher hole to give up another wide receiver for a safety. So as attached as Goose was to seeing from the draft, looks like he was able to fall out of love pretty quickly here. McKenzie definitely got some solid target in week 1 as well as 3 targets in week 2, but wasn't necessarily as productive. What do you guys think about this one?
I don't like it.
I mean, Scene was like pick 301. I think, it's good, like just taking it in a vacuum. Like Scene was pick 301 or 302, whatever it was, but early 3rd round. That's pretty good return on a wide receiver 3 or 4 in general. But I think just looking at his roster, the upside of McKenzie and the Bills freaking firestorm of an offense, I probably would want the wide receiver. But he's also on a 1-year deal, so you'd have to tag him, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of considerations here, but I wouldn't have made the trade just based off of who his wide receivers are.
I actually like it for the Colts. I don't think he's really a threat. So, you get another good young player. And at the same time, he got the Chiefs, Goose, to come down quite a bit from what his asking price kind of was. Because I know he wanted a 2nd for Scene, even though they drafted him in the 3rd. So,
LOL. Yeah.
I mean, that's true. It's a win-win from that perspective because it's what Colts does is he uses his cap space to grab the players he wants and some the kind of the big ads, and then tries to find ways to get him off his team throughout the year. So again, he's going to find a way to move Brady. Like, it's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen, and he's going to get a longer-term piece from it. And then he's going to turn around and do the same thing with his cap space next year. He's one of the few teams that has been successful because he's also been patient in turning his cap space into a weapon and getting pieces forward. So in this case, he got a highly regarded safety who was the 301 for a player he got off of waivers. Not off waivers, off of free agency, but you guys know what I mean. Another Chiefs trade here. again, going after Pascal with the Texans, giving up Eagles 23 first, Passinian and Felton for Pascal and the Giants second. Sean, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, this came out kind of random. I mean, I've been getting a lot of hits for Pascal, and as I'm a huge Kentucky fan, my goal right now is just to get as many first round picks and turn my second draft capital into first. So when that talk started to happen, I thought that once Hunt is done this year, Felton has a possibility to become the running back too in the Browns. And then Tano, I like Tano a lot. I don't think everyone thought that he was going to play. I saw some things that he has a good chance of it. So I was hoping to move him. I tried to move him a few places. He didn't move this week. But yeah, the fact that I'm kind of hoping that RJ's team isn't as good as what we think, and I can get a little bit better draft pick than the Eagles right there. But for a late second to move up to a late first, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, it makes good sense. And like Pascal's on IR, but he's got a path to that starting role potentially there once he gets healthy.
Yeah.
For what it's worth, I thought Pascal was sold a little bit cheaper than what I was expecting him to go for, but that's okay because I had a discussion with Texans about him, and I think that my expectation was that he'd go a little bit higher, but I don't think that's unreasonable.
All right. Then we've got a salary dump, Poyer in a fourth for Epps in a fifth. Poyer has been a little bit more productive, but costs about $10 million more. So Goose finds himself some more cap space to go from a early fifth to an early fourth. Nothing crazy there, although Poyer, I imagine, is hopefully going to be on the move here soon, despite his escalated contract value. And then, as mentioned, a couple false starts on Teron Johnson, then Teron Johnson for a fifth, so that Rams could lock up their win over me this week. Didn't really need him, but prevented me from going after him as well. So every little bit helps, and a fifth-round pick is more than a reasonable price to pay to pick up a key win in the league. So can't really say much about that either. Plus, it's a corner, so I think half of this group is bound by law to not comment on corner trades.
Well, I'll comment like I did in chat, saying like a $7 million corner is something I want no part of.
Right. But again, it's points are points sometimes, and if you've got the cap space for it, it's not a bad thing to necessarily have. But yeah, I agree. I think I'd rather spend money elsewhere if I can. All right, we made it close to an hour here. Chris joined us for the last couple of minutes here, but I think he's really joining for the after show anyway. Fearless leader, anything you want to add before we close down on the pod here?
No, not really. I got nothing. I'm just joining late.
Takes a week off and he's got nothing.
I was
you want to
prop Jeremy for handling everything when I was gone.
Do you want to take responsibility for ruining Javonte Williams?
Yeah, that might be on me. I don't know, man. They haven't looked good at all. I think somebody summed it up nicely when they said Hackett should be fired in chat.
I said that.
I think that's pretty much it. So can't really improve on that statement.
It just baffles me, like just simple game management stuff. Like, have you never played a game of fucking Madden? You learn this in like play a season of Madden. You're like, all right, I now know like typical game management rules.
So the only positive I'll take away from it is Javonte is getting passing game work, and he's getting like 65% of snaps in game 2. So
yeah.
Even though there's no production, there is hope in the future.
Yeah. And hey, that's what we can build off of. So again, thanks for everyone joining for the pod here. Like I said, we'll start up the after pod here and see what crazy things happen. But again, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. And we'll be back again next week.